Kathleen Winter is the author of Transformer, which was selected by Maggie Smith for the Hilary Tham collection imprint at the Word Works Press in 2020, brand new book. Her second book, I Will Not Kick My Friends, 2018, won the Elixir Poetry Prize, and her debut collection, Nostalgia for the Criminal Past, won the Texas Institute of Letters Bob Bush Memorial Award and the Anti-Venom Poetry Prize. Wow. Kathleen's poems have appeared in the New Republic, the New Statesman, Poetry London, Agni, Cincinnati Review, In-House, and Quarterly Review. She was granted fellowships by the Sewanee Writers Conference, the Dora Maar House, James Merrill House, Sil Rialeg Project, and the Vermont Studio Center. Her awards include the Poetry Society of America, the Writer Magazine Emily Dickinson Award, and the Ralph Johnston Fellowship at the University of Texas's Dobie Paisano Ranch. Kathleen is an associate editor at 32 Poems. She teaches creative writing at Sonoma State and at Santa Rosa Junior College. Please welcome Kathleen Winter.
Hi, thank you so much for coming, and thank you very, very much to Sandy Onfong and to Rivertown Poets. So I'm looking at this giant picture of me, so I'm going to put gallery view on again so I don't get so freaked out and try to move the camera. So Sandy, can you hear me okay? Does it seem okay, sound-wise? All right, thank you. So I see a lot of people I know, and I'm grateful to you people who are here who I know. And I'm also thrilled that the people I don't know here, and I'm really excited to see all of you and to know we're all poets. And this is one of the solaces, I think, for us in this I would call today, I guess, terrible time. It feels like a very terrible time because of Justice Ginsburg's death, and I'm really reeling from that. So I just thought I would mention that and want to try to honor her, dedicate my reading to her tonight. I'm a lawyer. I know some of you know that because you're my close friends. I don't practice anymore, but I did practice in California for 13 years. And the first year I clerked for a federal judge. So I have a little bit of, you know, I guess I would say high interest in the Supreme Court, what's going on, but I would guess that all of you, I'm seeing heads nodding, are fairly interested in this. It's an incredibly momentous loss. And so tonight I want to just read all political poems. I'm going to read poems, they're all from my book, Transformer. This is the book. And the book has 4 sections, and it's not all about politics, but there are a lot of political poems in here by my perspective. You may disagree, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. So one of the main issues that I wrote about in this book is domestic violence and gendered violence, violence against women. And so the first poem that I'll read to you is on that theme, and so are probably the first 5 or 6 poems. And that's because I was in a violent marriage long ago where I, you know, married someone I thought was a fabulous person, and then 3 months he started to hit me. And so I have like an inside vision of this situation, which I can assure you is a really bad one to be in. And so this is the first poem of the book, and it's called Soundington Apartments. And you were breathless in the laundry room, hiding behind a closet door ajar, listening for him to take the cellar stairs. Is it possible he was frightened he might kill you? You could see hues through the strip between hinges, tops that looked innocent, even when he kicked you. Rounded rubber at the toes is stiff, can bruise a shin, thigh. Hell was not soft enough to blacken when you're 24. Your ears, eyes are accurate, are sharp and clear. Stare at green laces wrapped over his ankles. Horses drown in the molasses time that floods a shadow-tinted room, until his fear spins him around and up the cement stairs. A chemical wind rising to find some spark to light it. 3 flights up, he sprints. You just need to gain 1 floor to leave. You just need 1 story, and it isn't his. So thank you so much. You guys are so sweet. It's really nice to see gestures, because I had this weird feeling of being in this vacuum, and the only thing I can see here are these flies that are flying around in front of my face. So if I act a little weird, it's because I'm like a horse in a barn with a lot of horse flies. There are all these flies, but it adds to the general excitement of the day. So another poem on that same theme of domestic violence, and this one is set on a military base, and we know that right now, you know, there's more domestic violence happening even than usual, and there's plenty of ways, but during the pandemic, there's more happening than there usually is, because people are pinned in together and stressed out and they can't leave and escape. And we also, you know that there's more proportionally domestic violence on military bases within military families. So that's why the poem is set in a military context, although that was not my personal situation. So the poem is called Holes in Drywall Made by a Fist. Holes in drywall made by a fist are uneven, a road. They leak, steadily, dust. What arguments gave rise to them, you ask? These craters, pocking walls at the side of windows. All make a living room appear askew, deranged. Whoever wanted out couldn't get there. Or maybe they were made to scare a lover. He froze, amazed, the first time he swung for the wall, jaw clenched, and on impact the fight flooded of her, limp now, not even screaming, dazed, taking in the concrete nature of her fear, a dense and solid thing she knows must fit inside her brain, despite its size, refrigerator weight, its trick of slipping into dreams she'll have all week of dust, propelled in storms across bays, the sure report of her erasure. And this next one, this is set in a writer's residency in Ireland, on the west coast of the County Kerry. And at this writer's residency, people have their own space to work, and they're usually pretty solitary. Like sometimes, maybe a couple of times a week, people get together and share stories and talk about their work. And it's kind of fun. Hey, Tanya, it's kind of fun because there are different disciplines of artists. So there are, you know, painters, there are sculptors, there are ceramicists, there are playwrights. You know, it's like kind of a cool mixture, and it's international. So if you guys are interested in writers' residencies, I highly recommend Kilrillig residency. And this one is called Meeting House at Kilrillig. And you might hear my dog drinking water too. When you clean a place, it begins to belong to you. Like sex is terrible unless you want it. Today I read a poet hedge, there might be no bad sex. Who's safe enough to hazard that guess? Use ash to rub smoke's ghost off of windows, on both doors to let sea winds dry the breath of the dead fire down a cliff. This night's stories lasted till morning, longer than our piled up turf. Kay's Midland summers, her hair in paper curled for Sunday night, tight enough to hurt, her grandma's starching shirt put on for the pub, where only men work and after shaving. Blue balls of bleach. There are 500 shades of white, Granddad one day stated. His wife took the claim straight. She gave him a different shirt, boiled the declined article all the next day in a cauldron on an iron crane over open flames. Their stone fireplace was like the one we gathered at last night, deep in drink and safe from any man. And then one more. I am happily married now and I adore men, and I have a fabulous brother and I adored my dad. So it's not that I don't think there's some cool guys, but this is just the section of the not so cool guys. Then we'll go into the section of the better folk. But one last poem from this section. And this is finally the girls. And I know since so many of, if not all of our poets, I just want to show of hands of people who've like occasionally or a lot written ekphrastic poems, because I suspect, I know Jody, you write quite a few of the, yep. So this is one of those ekphrastic poems. And it was inspired by a black and white photograph that I saw that I thought was really beautiful, but also very ambiguous and intriguing. So this is the poem called Finally the Girls. Finally the girls get to do what they're told. Shut up, sing. Exhausting, so many mixed messages. I wear the fox stole, livid beauty of some monstrous object I'll never forget. After the show, I stand behind Hare for the photograph. He sits beside the keyboard in his pawn shop tux, hands calm as a sniper's, tight lilies in his black lap. After the camera moves on, he snaps, "Get me a whiskey, don't smoke, don't talk to nobody." This is just the next impossibility. I lean on the bar, let Foxhead do the speaking. She says, "Honey, give me a double strong poison in the house. The varmint's got me soul and body by the neck and twisting it. Fucker can't see, I'm already dead." And now I'm going to switch to a section a little further in the book that has a lot of ekphrastic poems. And so this one in particular was based on a painting that I saw in a museum in Spain. It's the Thyssen Museum, in case anybody's been to the Thyssen in Madrid. And it's this painting from 1887, I want to say. It's an old painting. And if you look it up, you're going to find that it doesn't really look like my poem makes it sound like it looks. So, you know, just be warned. But the painter's name is Beurer, B-E-U-R-E-R. Beurer, I think that's how you say it. And the person whose portrait the painting was of is Rückingen, or Ruckingen. Okay, so those are the two players in this poem. And it's called An Old Man in Great Trouble. The famished ermine, trimming the patrician coat, was meant as an emblem of wealth. Is this the real-time sorrow? And how did Beurer bring it out in the patron's face through brumal medieval afternoons when they sit near each other, as still as two lemons, fire thinned, the stubborn paint thickening like an adolescent's neck? Licking a brush, the painter brings in a worker from the farmyard below the windowsill. Buckingen rests his hand, the jewel in his ring pushing out at the canvas. What is the life of a poor man, the least bit lit at the tip of a stick of incense, whose name isn't on the frame's plate, his knee cocked, who leans over a wall, stares at a ruin on the horizon, fly-sized, both man and castle? He's supposed to be raking, but his mind is paralyzed, like a cart's wheel half sunk in mud. Is it his illness, unidentified? Or the antique disaster of his father's maiming, or another more general trouble, too great to contain in one homunculus, undulating invisibly over the expanse, dormant fields backed by foothills, then the inexorable elevation, each layer colder and darker of blue. And so let me read you another poetry painting mashup here. And this is from another painting actually in the same museum. And it's, God, I don't know like who painted, I can't remember even how old. It's pretty old. It's a small painting. I would say it's like, yay big. Small oil painting, probably 15th century. And it's called, the poem that is called After 1,000 Years. Oh, I should just tell you, because it's going to be a little hard to figure this out, I think, when you just hear this short poem one time. So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag right now. So this poem was inspired not just from the painting, but from reading this article about anthropology, which I adore reading about. And they had found in an excavation of a religious site somewhere, I think in Poland, but it might have been Germany. This site had been a convent, and there had been some nuns there, and they had found some teeth, right? So they had, this is from scholarship, like the last year or two. They had found these teeth, they had found paint. And it was special paint. It was ultra, I can't say it, but it's ultramarine, is that vivid blue color that the painters would save for like robes of Mary and the most special parts of the religious paintings, because it was from lapis lazuli, which was super expensive, and they would have to import it from Afghanistan and all over the world, and it was like not available in Europe and super pricey. So the fact that this special ingredients in this woman's teeth was a very, very big deal, as you can imagine. So that's what got me to write the poem. So the poem is called After 1,000 Years, an Illumination. Mint sea and a shaded storm, green Galilee at the background, Christ bored, drowsing on the boat, crowded, panicking apostles. Even sea monsters in the foreground look anxious. She sucks on her brush to perfect the point that makes one monster's goggle eye. Already the tartar in her teeth secures its hoard of minute particles. Ultramarine, a fortune for the future scholar. As she works, the small black circle, ringed in a thin white line, appears on the serpent's head, on the surface of the sea, and, like the miracle of a talented nun, is grudgingly allowed. All right, so, thank you. Thank you, I'm glad. Yay for the nun, right? Yay for artists. So, these are driving me bananas. All right, I'm gonna read you a few more, and I'm gonna read some that are from this section of my book about family, childhood, all the good stuff. And I grew up in Texas, in San Antonio, Texas, and I had to leave there when I was about 24 because it was too darn conservative, and it's gotten incredibly more conservative. If you can imagine how unsettling it would be for someone who was like super pro-abortion rights and theist and whatever to live there. But I have a lot of wonderful Texas family and friends, and I think not all terrible, but my God, what a place. So I will do a few Texas poems. This one's called My Port Aransas. And Port Aransas, south Gulf Coast of Texas, right there around a lot of petroleum plants. And so that's the atmosphere that I'm describing. My Port Aransas. My ultramarine fevers, triggers, was it errors? My incessant pump jacks, rubber-footed divers, polychrome dividers, birthstones of faceted glass. My autoimmune shivers, spineless jellyfish endeavors, horsehead levers, my depthless, my lakes glittered of spillage, skimmed with liquid plumage, leaked in prophets' homage, smashed flat plastic bottles, shreds of tow rope in the boat's bow, underlying atmospheres of chemical diffusion, blanketing the dolphined channel, torpid, fairy-stitched, crepuscular. My fuchsia-swollen teenage moon is firing to defy it all. And let's see, another Texas adolescent poem for you. This one is set in like senior year of high school, and it's called The Heights. The Heights. Last time I saw him, we were rolling on his parents' cold tile kitchen floor after drinking lemonade. Sotillo, a type of tile randomly patterned with lucky tracks of rabbits, crows, coyotes, and that room pitch black. So seeing him was more a question of knowing he was there. Our sixth senses tentatively mixing above the vast distracting lips, teeth, tongues, and fingers that carried on clumsily and quickly while the adults' party expired across the street. Our parents and scores of neighbors eating artichoke with rare roast beef on shrunken squares of rye, draining leaks of bourbon. Their words of money, hierarchy, fleshly beauty, making the cases of that place. Their music and their light bleeding wide on Geneseo Drive to where we labored to ignore them, leaving them together on our way to leaving them alone. And I think let's have time for a couple more. So I'm gonna read. Let's get to hear Otis, my baby, barking in the background. Maybe I can read an Otis poem. Let's see. Okay, so just to leave you with something a little bit more cheerful, since I've been so grumpy all day. Does anybody know know Ernie's 10 Bar in Sonoma County? Has anybody ever seen Ernie's 10 Bar? All right, this is for you then, you people. So there's a sign in Ernie's 10 Bar that I really love. And so I wrote this poem so that I could get that sign into the poem. And it's called, actually this will be my last poem. It's called Irreconcilable Differences. You got toothpaste on the algebra. You glaze my glasses with a foam of mutant lace. You broke the bullfrog's croak. You drank and overturned a fish tank in the living room. Seconded by two black dogs, you plunged your horse into a moat created by the 20th century. You gave deja vu a black eye. You germinated slang in storm clouds thick with flecks of husk. In Navajo code, you mistranslated on grammatology. You made tuna loaf with raisins from the Fire Lookout cookbook and served it with canned milk. Now you're smoking. Let's just leave it at that. You're smoking cigarillos in the backseat of my wagon as the rain slams down. The brand of beer you buy is piss. Evapotranspiration makes you want to sit. You built an empire on team build cliches. You dangerously and your life coach. For Thanksgiving, you invited our demiurge concierge. You used your phone in Ernie's 10 Bar and had to buy around. You took a shine to my bête noire. You sold my stamp collection to make Trump donations. The boiler room, my brain, you warped the syntax of my thoughts. Thank you so much.